States. Chua misses the free throw. The U.S. is out. Timeouts. If he makes one, it's over. It becomes a two-possession game. If he misses, you're going to need a 90-foot heave.
Unable to qualify in the first half, but they scored with their second in the second half. Comes singing
one, it's over.
Tiny icing coming up short.
Many thanks for staying right here with us on Sports Central here on SpectrumTv. Well, the way you looked at me for a bit was getting concerned of what's going on here.
So good to be on the show.
Well, good
I have to look at my man and see if my man is okay.
Yeah, for a moment, I was, my head ran wild like Mr. Macaroni. What's really going on here? And remember, this is the Sports Central. In case you're just coming close to your TV set, it is Sports Central here on SpectrumTv, and our mission here is very simple. I take you through the big stories from the world of sports from Nigeria and beyond. Now, let's begin with the NBA very quickly, Blyden. 3 matchups this morning. The Nets had the win. We also had a massive win for the LA Lakers. But now, the big concern is the big guys for the Brooklyn Nets. We're talking about the likes of, Kevin Durant. And, of course, we're talking James Harden getting too many minutes. And pundits and, of course, NBA fans are beginning to worry that many minutes might see, them
wear out.
Tiredness,
coming, fatigue,
and of course fatigue coming, and all of that. Now, looking at the way they played so far this season, rising up to third in the latest power rankings in the NBA, is that something you fear for the franchise?
Definitely, football. I mean, in basketball or any sports, even in football, you have to be careful about how you stress your big players.
Yeah.
Especially when you're playing games virtually almost every day. It's usually difficult for me, and fatigue likely sets in. When you look at the numbers, the likes of Kevin Durant, early in the season they were making about 29 points on the average. It's beginning to reduce. It's going to drop to about 24, 25, and that says a lot. What happens when we get to the business end of the season? They can face a lot of fatigue, but it's going to be very hard too when you have big players and quality players. From a club's perspective, you have big players and quality players who can play so well. They have big games like games against the Mavericks. You have the likes of Doncic there who are going to give you a run for your own money. On the night, they had 25, 24 points between the two, James Harden and Kevin Durant, while Doncic had 28 points on the night. So it took a combination of this force to be able to overcome them on the night. So definitely in big games, you have to play your big players. You don't have a choice, because if you don't, you create a room for others to capitalize and beat you. But on the balance sheet, you have to find a way to balance it and give them some rest in order to help them play in the long run.
Yeah. Now let's talk about how that combination is also working for the LA Lakers. We've got superstars the likes of LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and we're talking Carmelo Anthony, the man more like a super sub these days. Comes from the bench and boosts the roster and all of that. Let's see how that combination. Let's talk about how that combination helps them going forward. Are you concerned about the inconsistency? Because we haven't quite had a run of 4 or 5 NBA matchups where all 4 or 5 are involved. And of course, it's got to be about synergy. And of course, it's got to be about creating that understanding, creating that bond. Then if they're able to forge that bond together, getting this 4 superstars all playing together, in unity in that roster, how far does that take the LA Lakers?
For me, I think LA Lakers need to have a good combination, as you said. Recent times have not played the best of basketball for me. They've not played the best of basketball. Winning 12 and losing 12, not a good record for a team like LA Lakers, where everybody thought LA Lakers were going to be a top team in this particular season. Right now, they're struggling. They're not playing the best of basketball. Coupled with the fact that we've seen a lot of injuries from the biggest.
Looking forward to a lot more going forward now. Let's leave the NBA for a bit. It just skipped in boxing for a bit. We had the news. DYLIAN White You know, it's there. It's been the mandatory challenger for quite a while now, but it's knocked in. So now it's the story of Tyson Fury. He almost certainly, compulsorily has to fight DYLIAN WHYTE, and that fight has to be next year February or March. And sounds exciting from a DYLIAN WHYTE perspective. It's been knocking on the door of top fights like this, and finally it's got a shot.
I knew it was coming to this. It was coming to this. Before DYLIAN WHYTE became the mandatory challenger, there had been talks about a fight after DYLIAN WHYTE fought Anthony Joshua some time ago. He wanted to fight Tyson Fury, and they've been talked about Tyson Fury trying to avoid DYLIAN WHYTE.
Avoid DYLIAN WHYTE.
Yes, it's a British battle for me.
Why do you think he would try to deliberately avoid DYLIAN WHYTE?
Well, those are particular words of DYLIAN WHYTE, especially when he was calling for Tyson Fury. He said, I want to fight Tyson Fury, but Fury had not fought him. But come on, we have to give a lot of credit to when we saw Fury, the fact that we saw Fury step up to fight Wilder.
Yeah.
Remember, he had been out of boxing for a while.
3 times.
About three years or so, 2 years, 3 years.
Battled depression and the whole lot.
Came back, and the scariest person to fight was Wilder.
Yeah, well, before that, took on Klitschko. You know.
That was before the
took out Klitschko.
That was before the suspension.
Yeah, that was
when
a
he
statement.
had the break. When he had the break.
Yeah,
he was a champion.
That was a statement win. You know, took out Klitschko and then battled depression for a bit, and got back and needed to get something big. Went for Deontay Wilder.
So that's the point. After not fighting for about 2 years plus, you were back, and one of the fights you want to take on is Wilder. So when you compare fighting Wilder and fighting DYLIAN WHYTE, he wasn't avoiding DYLIAN WHYTE. But we've been seeing DYLIAN WHYTE knock on the door, wanting this particular fight for so long, and finally it's about to happen.
Yeah.
I can imagine what happens in Britain. I think everybody will be looking forward to this fight. I myself, I'll be looking forward to this fight.
Well, I'm not looking forward to the fight. The fight I'm most looking forward to will be first up the rematch between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, and just in the eventuality AJ reclaims his belt. Then the fight I'm most looking forward to is Joshua versus Fury. But I like to have that settled out. Well, I have it in my head. My head is telling me you put Tyson Fury in the ring with Anthony Joshua. Fury knocks the hell out of Joshua. But I like to see it play out in reality beyond what's going on in my head.
Well, on the papers, we like to give it to Fury, especially when we see Anthony Joshua slump against some of these guys.
Yeah, but again,
when
you look at Joshua, you look at the way the guy has disappointment, and very admirably the way he bounces back from disappointment. Some say that's the real champion quality.
It's getting too many for me. Falling and rising, not really champion's quality. You have to stay there, especially when it has to do with boxing.
Yeah, but it's been there for a while, hasn't he? He's defended a couple of titles.
He's defended a couple of times.
It's fought against arguably the best guys in the division, the Klitschko's of this world. He's got the likes of Joseph Parker. He's got DYLIAN WHYTE you talked about. He's got some big fight under his belt. I
agree. That's why he had 3 belts at a time.
Yeah.
Or rather 4 when he had the interim one.
Yeah.
Rather 4. But it's beginning to seem that people, other fighters, have found out a way to deal with Joshua. He's no more that scary figure anymore. People are beginning to talk tough about Joshua, telling themselves, probably I can take on Anthony Joshua. He seems like the meat everybody's looking for.
Was he ever scary? Looks like a good chap. Looks like a good guy, friendly guy.
Well, he talks good, but when he gets to the ring, he has some strong punches.
Yeah.
At the time, it's not easy to be a world boxing champion.
No,
it's not that easy, especially when he has to.
We're talking about Joshua being the nice guy outside. You think Joshua has lost the fear factor in the ring where it matters most?
I think he has been too careful in recent times, especially when fighting technical boxers that can box. They know how to throw the jab. He's been too careful, not going all out. I remember the fight against Parker. He stayed in the ring, basically looking for a 12-round undisputed win. We saw the rematch with the Mexican fight boy. It was the same thing. He had to go 12 rounds, where he could have taken a knockout on the boy against Usyk.
Why are you calling that It's a man. He's got a family. He's got kids. He's saying, the boy. Andy Ruiz Jr. is his name.
Andy Ruiz Jr.
Yeah.
But the whole world was disappointed the way he fought during the rematch.
Yeah.
He fought like a boy.
Yeah.
And that's the last image I have of him.
Yeah.
A Mexican fat boy.
Yeah. Basically, because you look at the fact that you know, he wasn't the first pick for the fight. You know, we're talking the Mexican Andy Ruiz Jr. was supposed to be Big Baby Mila. You know, Big Baby Mila pulled out, caught of injury, and the man was the guy was drafted in barely 12 weeks, or barely 2 weeks rather, into the fight, just so the fight doesn't fail. Well, he went in there, stunned Joshua, stunned the rest of the world, because, in fact, how do you approach that kind of fight? It's dangerous, even from the heavyweight division. I listened to the likes of, you know, Mike Tyson talk, say, well, the most dangerous kind of fight to engage in is the fight where you have little or no time, you know, to study, and of course, do your homework on your opponents. And basically, that's what happened with the Andy Ruiz Jr. situation.
It's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
It affects the challenger.
Yeah.
It also affects the champion who is facing him.
Yeah, but
because the champion had been preparing for Miller.
Yeah.
In a short while, he was given Andy Ruiz Jr.
Yeah. But, you know, a lot of people say it's more precarious from the champion's angle, because basically the challenger has got nothing to lose. You know, it's a matter of he has just go in there and, of course, throw in your best punches, see what you have.
That's the point.
This was a guy that was at the end of his career. You know, it's nothing looking good for him. So he has one chance, looks like once in a lifetime opportunity against a champion who basically prepared to fight Blyden. And here this guy comes, an infant comes from out of nowhere. He has a chance to take out Blyden and then be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
No, infant can't win Blyden.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, this is what I want to say. This is what I want to say about Andy Ruiz Jr.
Yeah.
I'm not taking all the credit from him.
Yeah.
I believe that he could do more, especially when it has to do with boxing. After the fight, I've really not heard from him. After the fight against Joshua, I've really not heard from him. He's not really had some good fights. He was clumpy in that fight. Had a lot of criticism. But I want to give him credit.
That's the way he's always been.
I want to give him credit for being a good boxer at least.
Yeah.
I remember listening to Parker when asked who's been his toughest opponent before fighting Joshua. He said it was Ruiz Jr.
Yeah.
Andy Ruiz, rather.
Yeah, the guy's a fast puncher, and of course he's got the body size that, you know, doesn't really, you know, not many would think he should be doing what, you know, he's doing with that kind of body size. He should be sloppy, you know, should be draggy. But inside the ring, the guy's very fast, super fast, and he's got a fast punch as well. And it's dangerous when you have, you know, fast punches come up against bigger guys who are big, draggy, and of course drag about their legs and all of that.
So let me apologize to him.
Right,
It's not easy to get a
absolutely.
fighter.
Now, let's talk about the MPFL. And yesterday, the AGM held, and we understand they've ratified the December 17th date, and looks like that is slowly becoming a reality. We should prepare ourselves for the December 17th date for the new MPFL season. But beyond the venue of the dates being approved and the MPFL returning, what are you most looking forward to?
Well, first of all, I want to see the games back.
Yeah.
I want to know that Nigerian homegrown players are playing. The excitement that comes with the league. Also want to see improvement in terms of officiating. We've had this issue of officiating time without number repeatedly. I want to see improved officiating. I want to see players' welfare. Most importantly, I want to see. I don't want to hear stories about we're not paying salaries.
Is that ever going to improve here in Nigeria? Because it looks like you know, a recurring thing beyond football. You know, every other facet. You look at you know, guys that are working in the private sector. You look at the public sector. It's almost like a recurring thing, and then you can't expect. You know, I've said it before. You can't naturally expect football, which is a subsect of the country, the economy, you know, to work when the entirety of the economy is not working. Is it sensible to think football will be an exception? You look at the dwindling fortunes of our economy here in Nigeria and the way things are falling apart basically in all the facets of the economy. You certainly, does it make sense to expect football, be the subsect, to suddenly stand out and make sense?
Well, I agree things can happen vis-a-vis, but be that as it may.
Yeah.
I believe football can be a big projection for the economy. Football can be a tourist attraction for the economy. The way everybody's following the English Premier League at the moment. If we do the right things. Number one thing, biggest problem we have in our football and local league has been the fact that we don't have enough sponsorship of the league.
Now you talk about sponsorship. And in the AGM, the club owners talked about the fact that that would change. They're looking to get more sponsors and more investors into the league. But first up, you must look at getting a product attractive, a product that's worth investing in. And you'd look back, despite the years down, and you definitely ask yourself the question: is the Nigerian Professional Football League, is it attractive? Is it a product that you as an investor, you'd like to put your money on?
I agree with you. It's not that attractive, and the bulk of the game lies with the clubs. For me, lies with the clubs, because right now most clubs are being run from government posts.
Yeah.
So when you look at our football clubs, we're not making any money. The fans go to watch games. Most times they watch for free. No promotions from jersey. No products. They're not selling any products. And one of the reasons this happened is this: we are not raising talented young players. It is so difficult for a young player to graduate and play for the league side. It's so difficult. I've watched the games. Most of the players playing, just as I say repeatedly, have passed their prime.
Yeah, but
so you have to create a need.
Yeah.
I believe every football club should learn from Ajax Amsterdam.
I think in as much as I think a lot more needs to be done in that particular regard. I think we need to give clubs credit. We need to give the NPFL a lot more credit, because
we need to give the government credit.
Well, let me tell you why I say so.
Okay.
Over the last couple of years, we've had formations of under 13 football clubs or under 13 teams at different football clubs, and we'll have tournaments for them. Under 15, for instance, the LMC, the NPFL, La Liga Talent Hunt under 15, it's been running for about 3 years now. Players who are 15 and under play in that particular competition every single NPFL season, and then this is how some talent are discovered. And we've had some clubs, Lobby Stars of Makili, come to mind very readily. Likes of Kwara United, Nasarawa United, Akwa United have had players come through the ranks and then knocking the first team. So let's not make it sound like it's all doom and gloom.
I wouldn't want to say so.
Yeah.
But it's still a long way to go.
Yeah, a lot can be done.
It's still a long way to go. This is my point.
Yeah.
This is my point. I believe football clubs up to run at a professional level. What we're doing now is basically just trying to paddle the place.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're bringing money from government, putting people there. They're just running it anyhow. It's not there yet. But we have to start looking at football clubs as a pro club. Run it. Have academy where young players. For me, the biggest gap in the Premier League has been that progression where young players can play in the league, and the promotions of these clubs.
Now, let's look at something very quickly before we hit the breaks here and return to the other side with more football stories. You talk about the product, you talk about promotion of these players, talent and all. How can we promote talent when the means is not there? For instance, Ali is not on TV. I watched the other day the Libyan league. I saw some league in Zambia, the Ghanaian league. I can't even talk about the South African league. You look at the humongous amount of money they reach with production companies to come market their league and of course view and show it to the rest of the world. That's got to be a starting point. That's got to be premium. That has to be important to someone, because if we don't see it, for all I care, you're not doing anything. Putting out, it's like creating a product. For instance, yesterday we talked about the fact that we do a great show like this, but we limit the people that see the show. Same goes for football. We're trying to put something together. Yeah, there are challenges, but there are building blocks. There are definitely positives in the league, but we're not showing it to the rest of the world. So how can we export talent? And how can we want to market a league that no one even knows it exists in the first place beyond Nigeria? Outside the fact that, naturally you expect every country to have a running league. But okay, so someone outside, in Azerbaijan or Qatar would just say, okay, there should be a league running in Nigeria. What's the name of the league? How do they play the league? Is it on? Just questions. It would be a lot more easier if you have these things on TV.
Definitely.
Well, that's
I agree with you. That's the main problem.
yeah.
That's
That's why we're
That's the
basically
starting
hoping
I
that
think you need to manage one of the clubs. The way you talk about
we're hoping that this gets to change with the start of the new season. Well, see, if anything worth doing is worth doing well. So if we're to resume this league, then we've got to do it well. We'll hit the breaks here very quickly. When we're back, we'll talk about stories from CAF and talk about the European stories as well. So you stay right here with us.
Leave them unable to qualify in the first half, but they scored with their second in the second half. Comes Sigurdsson.
It's one, it's over.
Ultimately, icing coming up short. The time is finished. Nigeria 2.
From the 10th for the United States. Chua misses the free throw. The U.S. is timeouts. If he makes one, it's over. It becomes a two-possession game. If he misses, you're going to need a 90-foot heave.
Leave them unable to qualify in the first half, but they scored with their second in the second half. Comes Sigurdsson.